Hey, thanks for tuning in. Coming at you from the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, where I haven't made the count yet of how many times I've been here. Certainly there was one. Is that Jennifer Lee Chan? Oh my gosh. Hey, you have your own YouTube channel. You get over there. Actually, Jennifer and I just recorded the 49ers Talk podcast. And so we talked about all the stuff that's going on here in Indianapolis and had a special guest, Greg Cosell from NFL Films. So be sure to check that out. That should be up shortly. But yeah, been coming to the NFL Scouting Combine for many years. And at some point, I need to count up the years. And there was the one year, I think 2021, where there was no scouting combine because of the pandemic. And since then, Kyle Shanahan hasn't been coming to the combine. John Lynch and the 49ers personnel department, scouts, all those guys will be here. And so we'll get an opportunity to talk to John Lynch on Wednesday here in Indianapolis. But Shanahan and Sean McVay, among some other coaches, have decided not to come. And I don't think it's any big surprise that when I asked DeMeco Ryans the value that he finds in the scouting combine, and when Mike McDaniel, two coaches with 49ers ties, obviously, when Mike McDaniel was asked about what he gets out of the combine, the answer was the same thing. It wasn't the on-field workouts. It wasn't getting the close look at these guys. It wasn't, anything other than the interviews. And for some guys, it's important. For some evaluators, that's a very important piece of the puzzle to be able to kind of get inside the guy's head a little bit. As DeMeco Ryan said, what is their why for playing football? What's their love of the game, their passion for the game? And those guys believe that that can shine through during a 15-minute interview. And I totally believe that to be the case as well. And the 49ers have their people doing those kinds of interviews. But there's also the element of the time drain. And Mike McDaniel, he talked about this as well, that there is a lot of downtime during the day. There's a lot of socializing. There's a lot of stuff here that kind of takes you away from the main reason you're here, which is evaluating the 329 draft eligible prospects who come to Indianapolis. Now, from our standpoint, from the reporter's standpoint, it's great to be here around a lot of people who cover the NFL. It's great to be here and see all of the faces, the familiar faces of people with 49er ties who are now general managers and head coaches. And there's certainly been a lot of those guys through the years. But just kind of want to touch on some of the things here from the scouting combine. One of the first things was I did go over to Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry, and while he was having his session, and before he even took a question, he addressed the Myles Garrett situation. Myles Garrett on February 3rd asked for a trade. Of course, when he did that, 49er fans were wondering, is there a chance that Myles Garrett could end up with the 49ers? And I posted a video where I don't think I ruled it out at all. In fact, I said, I'm sure the 49ers would be interested and they'd love to hear what it would take in order to get Myles Garrett, both from a compensation standpoint of what it would take to get him from the Cleveland Browns, but also the kind of the unspoken part of this is I can't believe that Myles Garrett would go to another team and not have a totally reworked contract. So I would think that Myles Garrett would want to then become the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. And when you already have Nick Bosa on the team, I just don't know how realistic that is. Anyway, would I close the door on a 49ers acquiring a big time defensive lineman? Absolutely not. But to hear Andrew Berry tell it, Myles Garrett is not for sale. And he says that their thought process has not changed one bit. His job is to do what's best for the Cleveland Browns. And he says that there's no scenario that he can figure out where it's best for the Cleveland Browns for Myles Garrett to be playing for some other team. So he says Myles Garrett not on the trading block. So any teams who want to talk to Andrew Berry during this week at the Combine, because everybody's here, it's basically an NFL convention, they would be turned away because They're not interested in trading Myles Garrett. Another player that a lot of people are talking about here is Deebo Samuel. I've already got a lot of people pulling me aside from Washington. Our friend JP Finley, NBC Sports Washington, was asking, is there a chance that the Washington Commanders could end up with Deebo Samuel? And absolutely, I do believe there's a chance. But from the standpoint of, I don't think that Deebo Samuel will be back with the 49ers. I think that by him saying he didn't want to be with the team, requested a trade, I think that the 49ers will send him on his way. But whether that's a trade where the 49ers would then have to account for $31 million in dead money on the 2025 draft or 2025 cap, or whether that's just an outright release because they can't find a trading partner, whatever the case may be. But I don't think that Deebo Samuel will be back with the 49ers. One thing to note, a transaction that occurred as I was flying in, the 49ers did re-sign Ben Barch, 1-year contract extension. And it's notable because it's not out of the realm of possibility that Ben Barch could be a starter for the 49ers offensive line next season. I think with Barch, when they stepped in at left guard, when Aaron Banks was injured late in the season, he played very well, although very short period of time because he had the high ankle sprain and ended up going on injured reserve. So Ben Barch, very much in the mix. Let's see what the 49ers do in the draft. That's a long ways from here, but I think Aaron Banks will get a good contract with another team. I don't think the 49ers would extend much to keep him, but Ben Barch could be a guy that is at the very least a placeholder. Somebody the 49ers feel like, okay, they have their starting five, and now they'll see if they can improve upon that starting five, whether it's through free agency or through the NFL draft or some combination of both. So Ben Barch, a guy who could be penciled in at left guard. So when you think about it, Trent Williams at left tackle, potentially Ben Barch at left guard. You have Jake Brendel at center with competition against Nick Zakelj and Matt Hennessy. You have Dominic Pooney at right guard, and you have Colton McKivitz at right tackle. Spencer Burford could work into the mix at the guard positions, or he could be a swing tackle like he was late in the season, a guy who's been starting or had started for the 49ers at guard. They moved him to tackle, swing tackle. Maybe he's the answer for Jalen Moore, who's scheduled to be a free agent, and we'll see if the 49ers are able to re-sign him. So that's kind of the rundown here from the NFL Scouting Combine. Again, check out 49ers Talk podcast. That should be up shortly. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Leave a like, a comment, and thanks for watching. And that is it for now.